Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where, yeah, this didn't load quite exactly the way we wanted it to, but that is ultimately, I think, okay. What we are looking to do here is mostly ditch this. I mean, we know that we need 49 grip pads, and that connects in, that was kind of exciting, but we know that we need 49 grip pads, and that connects into all of these modular girder segments. Now, we know for a fact that we have 8 of these pillars here, and that is 24 modular girder segments. That's all well and good. I think we're going to do this in a slightly future launch. So we'll have the RGU up here. We're not going to send up the Kerbal, the engineer for constructing this, with this particular launch, I don't think. Oh, that was not what I intended to do. So we need to get this into min-miss orbit, right? So I think the first thing that we're going to do here is probably make this be an engine plate here. So we'll put in an engine plate EP25 like this. We'll make sure that it has quad nodes, and we'll flip it around like this. Not like that at all. That's exciting. Never mind, we're not going to do this. I've changed my mind. Instead, what we're going to do is are we just going to use regular old landing legs here instead of these modular girder segments? That probably makes a little bit more sense, doesn't it? So let's just go ahead and grab ourselves the biggest landing struts we've got. That's these guys right here. I'm going to make sure that we are snapping, and I'm going to place them here. I want to move our twitches up a little bit. Ooh, that connects all of it together. Never mind. I'm going to move our twitches up a little bit to be like here. And then we'll put our landing struts about here. Let's check our deployed length. That should be more than enough. Excellent. Now, in terms of the actual leg strength, I hope this will be good. I do hope it will. Do we need this entire tank of fuel there? Probably not, is the answer. I think that a half tank should be more than sufficient. Probably a quarter tank would be better. We look at this, that's 994 meters per second right there. As long as we don't have to burn this approaching min-miss, that should be fine. So we can go ahead and retract this, and then we can put in a decoupler here. So I would like to definitely put in a TD25 decoupler. Something along the lines of that will be absolutely fine. And then let's just put a bit of a maneuvering stage in here. We can go with an X-32 holding tank. That one will be full, and we can transfer any additional fuel up here if we need to. Hang on, do we actually want to do that? I'm thinking about if we want this stage or not. I think we do. What is our vacuum thrust? The twitch is fairly equal at sea level and in vacuum. Okay. I think we do want this. We want to have a vacuum optimized Poodle engine here. And then we will just put in another TD25. And the question is, what would our standard 2 X64 tanks into... Oh, this is a little on the low side here. Let's go ahead and raise this. What would this into a mainsail end up looking like for thrust to weight? So we put in the mainsail here, and the answer is 1.17. So that is definitely a little bit on the low side. Let's go ahead and put in a bicouple here of a couple of Polluxes. Should do is the trick. We'll place those here, like so. Oh, nope, not like that. We'll place those here, and we will use the move tool to move that right on down until their attach point is there or so. Fantastic. And we will give them an aerodynamic nose cone, and we will strut that in as well. So we'll strut it in from here to here. Excellent. And I'll also strut it in up here just to make sure that this seam isn't having issues. Okay. Do we need a fairing? Well, we know we need a stronger gyroscope, that's for sure. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's put in a large reaction wheel here. That will help matters tremendously. What is our thrust to weight down here with our correct staging? 1.68 is the answer. I don't know why this is sticking on all of a sudden. It wasn't doing that a moment ago, but 1.68 is, I think, acceptable. I do want to move these down to be about there. That should be fine. Fantastic. And then that decouples. Those should fire at the same time, and yeah, that'll be completely okay. So this should get to min-miss, no problem, in theory, assuming we don't have aerodynamic issues, which we will. This will certainly have aerodynamic issues, and I'm going to save this as the mining outpost. There we go. And we'll do the landing pad separately, and all that infrastructure. So that will be an interesting mission for sure. But we're going to save this as the mining outpost, and in terms of aerodynamics, we've certainly got some aerodynamic issues here. You can see right now our aerodynamics are very strange, shall we say. Very, very, very strange. So we're going to put in some tail fins here and see if they would fix it. And of course we're going to go for aeroplane tail fins, not regular tail fins. These are not large enough for us. Aeroplane tail fins are in here somewhere. Those are swept wings. Those are Delta Deluxe winglets. Okay, let's do this. Aeroplane. That was not particularly helpful, but the tail fin is here. Okay, so we're going to attach this in about here. That does substantially help out the aerodynamics, but we're still going to have some pretty hefty aerodynamics issues here. That is to say, we're going to be extremely stable. If we go here, we're going to be pretty maneuverable. I have no idea if this is sufficient on the aerodynamics. I'm actually going to run a quick simulation here. Let's see if this works aerodynamically. If it does, we'll revert it and we'll do an actual launch. If it doesn't, we'll address it. Because I legitimately have no idea if this aerodynamics is going to do the trick or not. So let's get this loaded in and let's just see. If it loads. KSP? Sometime today? It may have frozen. KSP, what are you doing? Oh, we're going. And we're in 4K. Perfect. And we don't have shaders. Okay, so this is going to be exciting. We're going to go ahead and set this as our screen resolution. There we go. And I'm just going to hop back to the Space Center here. Oh, that's going to make it so we can't revert it. That is going to make it so we can't revert it. Oof. Oof. And we're back in 4K. Oh boy, this is going wonderfully. Please stop going back into 4K. My graphics card just can't handle it right now. Okay. Okay. So that means that we actually have to recover this because we had the shader issue. And we'll try this again. This is a simulated flight. We're testing aerodynamics. Please work this time, KSP. Please work. So we're going to launch this. If these aerodynamics work fine, then we'll send this to min-miss. And this will become our first section of the base. Okay, so far so good. We can see things. We load it in. We're not in 4K. I like it. Let's go ahead and launch this. As we expected, thrust to weight off the pad is fine. We're going to stress test our aerodynamics and see just how bad they are. Okay. So we're going to stress test this right about now, and let's see how this goes. Actually, I'm going to wait on that surface. Okay, we're at 200 meters per second. Let's go. So we tip over, and we stop the tip. Kinda, yeah. Okay, so if we don't turn that aggressively, I'm just trying to overshoot this right now, and let's see how that goes. Yeah, this is reasonably manageable. As long as we're cautious, we shouldn't have an aerodynamic issue. So I'm going to revert that back to the launch. That was a simulation for aerodynamic purposes. And we're just going to launch this guy. Now, this is an unmanned craft, and we don't have much for an antenna on it, but we shouldn't need one for this particular mission. That is something I have already considered. So we'll go ahead and lift this off. And we're going to go up to about 100 meters per second here. And we're just going to try to be a little bit more cautious with this. This one is not simulated, so we are not allowed to revert this. But we also don't need to go anywhere near as aggressive on that turn. So that's great. I'm just going to flip us over into maneuver mode here. I didn't bother putting a KER on this, because we're really not going to need it. The landing site is not actually particularly useful, because this will establish where we want the landing site to be. Oh, we are having a little bit of aerodynamic pressure here, attempting to naturally push us over. I'm holding here until we get a little bit higher. Okay. Now I'm going to resume our turn. I want to make sure that we don't start a flip, because if we do, there's no reversion. We are not allowed to revert this. We're just making it slowly over to prograde. Okay, we'll hold prograde here. Separate. And our apoapsis is 80 kilometers, so we will go ahead and hold here. That is perfect. That worked reasonably well. So we will get ourselves into orbit here, about like this will be fine, right? Yeah, that'll be fine. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and hold the maneuver node if we can. It'll be a little while until we get into space here and know exactly how much fuel we're going to have here. We can always transfer fuel out of this once we are in orbit as well into our tank up here, which is completely fine. We can do that. 1567.2 meters per second, though? That's a bit of a yikes. We didn't have much horizontal speed. That means we should definitely be burning right now. Now that we're at that node. So let's go ahead and do that, and we're going to get as much horizontal speed here as we can. I mean, yeah, we didn't have a lot of horizontal speed, that is true. That was mostly vertical speed, so fair enough. Fair enough. That said, this is still plenty of delta V to get us there. Okay, so off we go. And we are going to burn out this entire tank. This is expected. And we are also, of course, going to burn out some of this tank, but not all of it. That's fine. And off we go. Excellent. Let's get into orbit here. I am glad I added this stage. We could have put more fuel into this stage, I suppose, but I still don't think we need it. We are not at our apoapsis just yet. This is our node time right now. But you can see here, time to apoapsis is holding. This probably means we're slightly early on this burn, is what I'm thinking. Yeah, time to apoapsis is currently pushing out. So I'm actually going to get rid of that, and we're going to create... Oh, hello, pause menu. We're going to create ourselves a new node here. And we'll do something like this. Yeah, good enough. And we'll burn that at T minus 19.5 seconds. So we'll go ahead and warp towards that. Wait, before we do that, as I'm punching my microphone in my hurry to remember to extend our Gigantors. Okay, there we go. I really should make an action group for extending solar panels. This is definitely a thing I should do. I never am in the habit of it. Okay, so 19.5 seconds is when we want to burn this. And we'll burn that now. About another 200 meters per second here. That's fine. Would we have more meters per second if we moved the fuel up here, is the question. And I actually want to experiment with that. Let's see what that does to our delta V as soon as we're in orbit. I'm not sure which of our engine sets are more efficient right now. So we're going to take a look at that. This is good enough. This is in orbit now. So let's go ahead and take a look. So if we are fully in this tank, that's still only showing us 983 meters per second. So this didn't update. Okay. Fair enough. So I guess we'll move back over here and we'll just move all of the fuel in here for now. And we'll just navigate using this stage for the time being, but we'll transfer all of the fuel back up here when we're beginning our landing sequence. Okay, we've still got a little fuel left up here, in fact. Yeah, this just isn't updating, so we'll allow that to continue for now. So as far as Minmus goes, we of course just passed the ascending node. That's slightly irritating, but we'll go to the descending node and we will go this way. I always choose the wrong one first, and there's no reason to. Oh well. Okay, we'll go ahead and do that, and we will lock to that maneuver node. Excellent. And then we will warp to that maneuver. So that's another 200 meters per second there. That's fine. We should have plenty of delta V for this. So we're going to come in here and burn this at T minus 16 seconds. Let's go ahead and warp towards 16. And we will burn this right about now. It's a pretty small burn of a couple hundred meters per second. And of course, currently these 4 Gigantors are way more than we need. And in fact, I'm going to retract these two. They're not going to be particularly helpful at this juncture. So we'll just do something kind of like this for now. And we'll finish up this burn. That's probably good enough, right? Yeah, that's good enough. And we're going to head out to Minmus. Now, Minmus is currently there, so we probably want to burn it sometime around here, is my guess. Yeah, that looks quite good, in fact. Maybe slightly earlier. This is good enough. That brings us in prograde. Yeah, that'll be fine. We'll go ahead and lock to that maneuver node. Something along the lines of that, and then we'll warp to that maneuver. Excellent. And we should have plenty of power in this stage for now, so this should be completely fine. And we will reorient a little bit here for the maneuver node, and we'll burn this at T minus, let's see here, 30 seconds plus 24, so 54 seconds. We'll go ahead and warp towards that. And we will burn this now. Off we go to Minmus. Excellent. Now, technically, we could probably land on this, but what exactly is the point? Fantastic. So that's going to be about 700 meters per second. And that's completely fine. You can see here that that was about 800 meters per second that we pulled out of this tank. That's okay. Any spare fuel in this tank is going to go into this tank when this one gets jettisoned to impact the Minmus surface for our seismic science. And that'll be completely okay. Got another 600 meters per second here, and then our Minmus maneuvers are going to be a couple hundred meters per second. So we will have a fair amount of fuel left for our landing. Should be fine. And of course, the reason we're using... I mean, I probably could have gone with a different engine, but I'm just used to using twitches in this situation because I didn't want an engine here. That was the one thing that I did not want, was an engine there. Although, now that I think about it, we could have had an engine there and it would have been fine. But, it's okay. It's probably better that we don't have an engine there, in all honesty. Having the engines up here, kind of like at the Starship renders, is not a terrible concept. So we've got another 170 meters per second to burn here. Excellent. We're almost there, as you can see by the fact that we've almost started. That's just the way orbital dynamics works. Hello, moon encounter. Okay, is that an encounter? That's an encounter. We'll save the 1.3 meters per second for now, and we'll just work in min-miss orbit here. And that is going to be about 200 meters per second. I want to bring this down to around 40 kilometers. Actually, maybe like 20. 20 kilometers should be fine. Something like this. Sure. We'll go ahead and point towards that maneuver. Excellent. And we will warp to this. As soon as we have pointed there. Excellent. Goodbye, Kerbin. Hello, Minmus. Fantastic. It's been a little while since we've actually taken flight. This development has been kind of lengthy. And that's all completely okay. So we're going to burn this at T-minus 11 seconds. We'll warp towards that. And we'll burn right about now. Excellent. So we are going to be captured by Minmus's gravity very soon here. There we go. We'll call that good. It's 34 kilometers, but close enough. Then we'll come over here and we'll burn retrograde, and we'll bring this down to somewhere around 20 kilometers. That'll be fine. We'll go ahead and flip over to the maneuver node. Wonderful. You can see here we're currently traveling at 10 meters per second relative to Minmus. Not very much at all. We'll go ahead and warp over towards this burn. 57.4 to get us here, and then once we're in that orbit, we're going to deorbit, flip all of our... Oh, I was going to say all of our mana up into the fuel tank, but that's not how that works at all. We're going to move all of our fuel into the fuel tank up here, and then we're going to deorbit this. But we're going to burn this here in just a few seconds at T-minus 2.5 seconds. So we'll burn that right about... It kind of doesn't matter, actually. But we're going to burn it right about now. Okay. We'll call that good. Yep, good enough. Next, we're going to go ahead and warp to here. I'd like to land in these flats. And we'll just take a look at where the flats are when we approach the periapsis. Yeah, they've definitely moved underneath us. This is not a shock. Okay, we'll warp 6 more minutes ahead. Yep, that's fine. And then we'll just go ahead and drop down somewhere like here. Should be okay. That'll do the trick. And let's not time warp right now. Thanks. I was trying to close the map. Okay, so this is going to be 150 meters per second to kill our horizontal speed here. And that's fine. We're going to go ahead and do that. Right now is fine, actually. I don't care about the timing so much. I just want to kill our horizontal speed right now. There we go. Something like that will do. Yeah, looks fine to me. So at this point, let's go ahead and transfer any remaining fuel out here. I believe I burned a little bit more fuel. Yeah, that's for sure. And then we're going to detach this. So let's go ahead and do so now. So 594 meters per second is what we've got here. I do want to be in surface retrograde mode here. And let's go into stability assist. And let's just push these very loud engines a little bit here. I don't like this. Let's, no, not that way. Let's try not to hit this guy. Just squeaking by here. Fantastic. Okay. With that done, we don't need these pinned open. With that done, let's do something like that. Okay. Excellent. Overshot that slightly, but that should be good enough. Or did I? Did I overshoot that slightly? I think we might be good. Okay, let's go into radar altitude mode. And at this point, we're about 20 kilometers up, so we need to head on down here. Now, I don't have any suicide burn info, so I'm going to have to feel this out. Luckily, we have 600 meters per second to land with, so we should, in theory, be okay. I'm going to warp down until we are about 8 kilometers from the surface, and then I'll feel out how that looks with a burn. Okay. So we're moving at about 100 meters per second right now. And this doesn't decelerate all that quickly. Good to know. I zoomed way out here so that it's not hideously loud. Twitch engines tend to be. Okay. We definitely want to let this fall a little bit more. So I'm going to take it down to about 4 kilometers here, and we'll try again. There goes our other engine. That's fine. Okay. Let's test this. Yeah, seems reasonably fine. I'm going to bring this down to about 30 meters per second, and then we'll go down to 2 kilometers. I overshot that a little bit, but let's go down to 2 kilometers at this point. I now see our shadow over here. We can no longer time warp. That's fine. And we're just going to look for a very slight deceleration here as we continue to gently fall onto the surface of Minmus. Again, if we need additional heat, we will bring up additional radiators, if we need additional heat reduction, that is. Okay, I'm going to throttle up our speed reduction a little bit here. You can see our engines working away there. And I'm going to bring it up a little more. We're still going a little fast for our altitude, considering that we don't have suicide burn info. Yeah, now we're catching up correctly. 20 meters per second currently. Okay, I'm going to drop this. And we'll pick this back up again at 800 meters. We're just going to fall for a little bit. This is not the most efficient way to land, but we don't care about efficiency on this particular mission. We just want to get it down there. Okay, so we're currently about 1 kilometer above the surface. Once again, we're going to start this up again here in just a bit. In fact, I'm going to start it now. We'll start a slight deceleration. I'm going to crank it up just a little bit. 600 meters above the surface. 400. This is a little much on the deceleration, I think. We're 300 meters above the surface, moving at 10 meters per second right now. I just want a very gentle deceleration currently. 150 meters above the surface. Just chasing that retrograde node a little bit there. 100 meters above the surface. 70. 50. And here we go. Wonderful. That will do the trick. So at this point, let's go ahead and extend our thermal control systems. There we go, and we will go ahead and let those go. And then we will deploy our 3 drills. Once again, this is something I really probably should have put into action groups. We'll also deploy our additional solar panels now that they can actually be utilized. Fantastic. And let's start our surface harvester. And let's see how those core temperatures go. Perfect. What about with all of them running? Perfect. Now what about with the ISRU running? Wonderful. Okay, so we don't need any additional heat reduction here. Our power appears to be good, and you can see here we are beginning to fill up our... We're very slowly filling up our Jumbo 64 fuel tank. That will eventually get filled up. So this is the beginning of our outpost here. Next, we're going to need a landing pad, and then we're going to need our arm for the landing pad. Those will be some interesting projects, to be sure. There will also be projects for another episode. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and I will see you all next time.